Bad news. AI is coming to take your job. The good news is the effect that it's actually going to have as a whole on the marketing industry. Stay tuned for that. But let's talk first about the bad news. It is absolutely going to disrupt and take away people's jobs. However, it's not like it's going to somehow assemble itself into a human being and now we're all put out of work. That's not going to happen. So if you're worried about that, stay through to the end because I have more good news for you. So how these systems work is it's like the camera putting out mediocre painters out of business. This is the effect that any new technology has on the market. It's the same reason why the small, mediocre cameras no longer have market share because we have cameras that fit in our pocket through smartphones. And so Seth Godin was talking about the same principle, and he brought this up in his talk with AdWorld. But what are the potential results that we can expect from this technology as marketers to impact our industry? Now, I anticipate the content, if you have a content agency, this is going to be extremely, extremely important to you. But who this video is for is really for any CMOs or any agency owners, but in particular, content agency owners. Because if you are a content agency owner, stick to it because it's going to be rough. Now, McKinsey predicts that generative AI is going to increase marketing productivity by 5 to 15% across different applications. So where they anticipate their use cases to be first and foremost is personalized content creation at scale, which is massive. Creating personalized marketing experiences creates such a massive difference in the customer experience. I know, for example, I don't use software that gives me bad customer experience. For example, any software that automatically logs in whenever I open my computer, I instantly delete it and I'm like, never again. I just out of principle. Now I'm a bit extreme, but it goes to show the power of a good experience. Because if they have a bad experience, then it repels customers. Now, if they have a good experience, oftentimes I remember doing business with companies that I just had one good experience with 5 years ago. But because the experience was so memorable that they were able to retain me and earn my repeat business. So enhanced customer engagement. I mean, a lot of buzzwords, jargon there. Thanks, Harvard Business Review. But obviously more data. It's like, instead of, take, for example, you have a massive library of books. The AI can do is it can read all those books simultaneously to pull out the information that it needs to be able to operate. Now, it's also going to be able to enhance lead gen, because of course it will. Now, given there's massive increase in 5 to 15% across the marketing industry, you'd expect that business leaders would jump at the opportunity to integrate this as part of their business, but they're not. 600 business leaders across the US and companies with more than 50 million a year in sales are not prioritizing the AI's integration of their business. So I'll have some more news on that later and what that means for where it is that we are in this adoption cycle of new tech in the market. So the problem is that, I mean, there's so much media, getting back to the bad news about content agencies in particular, there's so much mediocrity in the market that AI threatens to disrupt this. My point about cameras putting mediocre painters out of business. Because of this idea of the threat of substitutes. Say, for example, if I have a cup, if I'm buying a glass cup, but now plastic cups come along, and for me, I don't care about the look of a glass cup at all, then I'm just going to buy the plastic cups because it's cheaper. That's because the plastic cup is newly entered the market, and it serves the exact same purpose. Now, this happens in any type of industry with the threat of substitutes. So this is one of the things that shapes the competitive landscape within a market, is substitute products threaten established players all the time to take the market share. Now, where this matters most is when the threat of substitution, when the costs to switch are low. However, the costs to switch are high, and the threat of substitutes are low. So, for example, struggling to think of an example where the cost of, okay, yes, just thought of an example. I was talking to a software SaaS product selling about $1,000 a month their service, but it's to large printing shops. Now, this software is so complicated to integrate that it actually, the medicine to cure is almost as painful as the pain itself. So that's when the threat of substitutions are low, is because once they get into an account, the pain of switching out of that software is so immense that the customer doesn't want to go through that to switch. That is when the threat of substitutes are low. So another example is like buying a new car. Oftentimes people will drive a car until the cost of maintaining it outweigh the cost of buying a new one. But if you just bought a new car, why would you buy another? Because the cost to do so is high. Now, if the substitute product is cheaper, then the threat of substitutes are even higher. Those are the two impact variables that dictate the threat of substitutes. So in the case of AI and appointment setters, now when I was running a call center, the amount of logistics and administrative to hire one new employee was insane, crazy. Now, I'm going to get more into where we are in the life cycle of this market, so stay tuned. But the biggest issue with real human appointment setters was the administrative cost. You had recruiting, so it means that I have to go out, I have to post on job boards, I have to read the applications of the job of the applicants, and then there's people, and I have to pay people to interview the applicants. Interview them myself, and then onboard them. So more staff involved with onboarding them, and then also training them. AI setters completely eliminate that. I have to create the prompts, input the campaigns for it to call, set up the automations, and that's it. So it goes to show just how much the marketing industry is primed for disruption, because in the case of AI appointment setters, my cost to switch is extremely low because it's just the cost of running the software. And then number two is it's a much cheaper alternative. So why wouldn't I do that deal? Makes perfect sense, right? So how is it that we can stay at top of this trend? Because this is just one example. This is just one use case for us to focus on and target. So how is it that you can AI-proof your business? Well, the good news is stay tuned. I got some nuggets for you. Now, what are the best value-added pieces of any business? Continue to think about that while we're watching this video, or pause and think about it. Now, also, if you like this kind of content, subscribe, like for more. I'm starting this. This is just the start of our journey together. So make a great life choice and subscribe, because I got more nuggets coming. Now, anytime there's new technology that enters the market, it goes through this peak of inflated expectations. This is the same thing that happened with Bitcoin in 2017. Peak of inflated expectations for crypto. Then 2018 happened. The market crashed. There's a crash back to reality for what this technology can do. And then, slowly but surely, we start to understand and appreciate what the technology can actually do. So by understanding this principle, it's like buying Bitcoin in 2013 and then selling it in 2017, because we already have all the insights. And it's the same with any new technology. But instead of that pump and dump with Bitcoin, we can already integrate the tech into our business and understand how it it can benefit us and the market as a whole. And the more that we understand it, the more ahead of we are of the market, the more service that we can be to our customers. Now, what does that mean? It means that it's like we're shouting the Da Vinci Code from the rooftops, and people actually want to hear it because they realize how this technology can help them impact their business. But it's the inverse of that is people is just shouting our service from the rooftop like we have the Da Vinci Code, but it's not actually the Da Vinci Code. It's just some mediocre service that we're selling. And that's the benefit of understanding where the frontier of the market is. So the best tools, looking at the most value-added piece of the business for these tools, the best ones are the ones that solve as much of the gap as possible. It's the same principle with services. For example, if I'm selling steaks, so if you just have one piece of meat, then the price point, a raw piece of meat, and the price point that we can command is significantly lower because it's just limited value. It's a commodity. It's one thing. What's the difference between one piece of meat versus the other? That's a whole other conversation, particularly with steak. However, with the Argentinian steakhouse, you sit there, you dine in, it has an incredible experience, but they already source the best pieces of meat. They cook it with the best chefs. They pair it with the best side dishes and other foods to pair it with. And it also gives you the best experience possible, which is why they can command a much higher price point, is because there's exponentially more value produced. They've taken the piece of meat and they've put it through all that. They've sourced it. They've brought it to the restaurant. They've taken care of everything. So it's ready to eat, which is why they can charge $250 for that piece of steak versus the actual piece of steak itself, where it comes from in Argentina, might just be $6. So AI is going to be like technology that does this, where it bridges the entire gap or bridges more of the gap because it's simply just software that can do more. Whereas in the past, you might have one software for your CRM, you might have one software for email, etc. Now, the game changer here is that it's software that it's like a monkey that had a rock before as a tool. Like now the monkey has a rock and a bicycle because it can do more, but it's still a monkey. Now, I'm going to have another video where I break down the best AI tools that can solve more of the gap that are available in the market today. Excuse me. Now, if you don't want to wait for that and you have an agency and you want to AI proof your business today, then go ahead and book a call with me down below. And I'll see you on the other side.